This happened about a year ago in January. I live in a middle-sized coastal city in Florida. The beach is only about a 6-minute drive from where I live now. Regardless of moving around town a few times over the years, I have lived here for the majority of my life. I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, and even the local community college. Although we aren't a small city, usually we'll run into somebody you know or you knew out in public. I was celebrating the 3rd year of finally living on my own. I had purchased a beautiful modern-style townhouse in a great part of town, close to the local shopping centers and grocery stores and other neighborhoods. Now, of course, our city has some bad areas. Almost every city does. The bad area closest to me was about 5 miles northeast. I always pride myself on trying to stay fit. Years back, I would go to the gym often. After a while, I quickly realized I'm much more of an outdoorsy person, and I'd much rather jog outside in the fresh air than on some cold machine in a dark gym. My usual exercise routine would consist of taking around a 5-mile jog or run around the local neighborhood, showering, and then heading off to work. It is always wonderful to get out early and breathe in the fresh air and take advantage of the cool breeze. Unfortunately, this specific week I had come down with one nasty cold. Coughing and hacking, I had to take the entire week off of work, along with skipping out on work. I hadn't got any exercise the entire week either. My cold was at its worst on Monday, and I could barely get myself out of bed. Tuesday and Wednesday were pretty much the same, and Thursday I began feeling somewhat better. Friday came, and I woke up feeling a bit groggy, but as the day progressed and the evening approached, I began feeling completely myself again. I knew I had skipped out on my entire week of exercises, and after a few gulps of my energy drink, I was off to burn off some steam for a few miles. It was about 8 p.m. and it was dark outside. Now, to set the scene, I live in a beautiful neighborhood with sidewalks that wrap around it, but it is only about 2 blocks long. A main road connects my neighborhood to other large neighborhoods on the street that I jog around and through often. I grabbed my phone, my sweat rag, yeah I know, my headphones, and my bottle of water, and I set off. I had jogged a few times a night before with no problem, so why should this be any different? I go through my neighborhood and I go out on the main road and I began heading for the next neighborhood down. I head down there and I jog down each street of the neighborhood. At this point, I am getting a little bit tired and I knew that I had one more neighborhood down from this one if I wanted to hit my 5-mile run. I had to do it though. I had to at least get one full exercise for the week. So I jog back out of the main room and I head for my final neighborhood. Now, this last neighborhood is a little bit different than the rest. The houses sit on large properties and they are much larger and expensive homes in general. Mostly old people lived in the neighborhood, and during the day when I would jog through, they were always friendly and they would wave. So I'm out on the main road approaching the entrance of this final neighborhood, and I noticed a white van with only one headlight approaching from behind me. It slows down a bit as it passes by me, and I'm guessing whoever was inside was watching me jog into this neighborhood. The van slows down a bit more and then speeds up and passes me and continues down the road. I truly think nothing of it, and I look down on my phone as I approach the first street to jog down. Shuffling through my music playlist and selecting one of my upbeat techno remix tracks to help keep me pumped up, I jogged down the first street with no problem. I did notice that I didn't see one person up or one light on outside any of the houses. This didn't surprise me though, figuring the old people are probably already in bed and laughing at the thought. I get to the next street to go down and I decided to stop and open my bottle of water for a sip. As I swig a gulp, I see the light of a car approaching me. One light. It can't be, I thought to myself. I resumed jogging slowly as the car cut up to me and it passed by me. It was the van again. It must have been the same exact van that had passed by me earlier. I figured there must be some sort of coincidence. Maybe this person actually lived in the neighborhood. Although I was beginning to get a little bit freaked out, I kept telling myself to finish the jog and to stay aware of all my surroundings. After the van passed, it made a turn once it got to the end of the road and it was out of my sight. I decided maybe I should turn around and go back the way I came to be safe, so I did just that. I scurried through the entire street back and I only had one left. I kept up my pace and I turned the volume of my music down. I reached down to have another drink of water when I stared down at the end of the road to see the exact same white van parked and turned off. So whoever that was must live down there, I thought to myself. When suddenly the car jolted on. The one headlight came on and the driver must have driven the gas pedal into the floor. The van pummeled towards me from the other end of the street. This wasn't a joke and this was for real. At that very moment I knew it. My life flashed before my eyes and every feeling of terror, horror, and anguish flushed over my body. I would not be able to get to the exit of the neighborhood in time, but luckily the houses I was passing by paralleled to the main road that would take me back to the safety of my townhouse. The van got closer and closer as I made a sprint into whoever's front yard it was. I was halfway through the front yard when the van stopped with a screeching, eerie, immediate stop. I dashed over the chain link fence as I heard the van's door open and 2 heavy feet hit the asphalt. I dashed through the backyard, hopped the last chain link fence and onto the sidewalk of the main road. I heard the van engine start up again and speed off. There was no doubt it was heading back towards me. I'm running faster than I ever had before down this main road. I passed the 3 old oak trees and then passed the last neighborhood before mine. The van has now returned and it's gaining on me. I can hear the engine howling and getting louder and louder. I begin to hear a creepy old voice screaming,
"I'm gonna get you, boy. Just wait. Come here."
At this point, I have tears streaming down my face as I ask myself, will I actually make it home? What will my family think when I disappear? All of these thoughts clouded my mind along with tears clouding my eyes. As I turn the corner on the main road, I can see my neighborhood about a block away and, for a moment, the van was still yet to make the turn and couldn't see me. I sprinted through my blurry eyes and hurriedly tripped on the side of the curb of the sidewalk. I fell and I felt a pressure pop in my ankle. It felt numb for a moment and then the pain hit me. I had sprained my ankle. But no time to cry about it now, I thought. I pulled myself back into the hedges by the sidewalk and I shoved myself into them as far back as I could. The twigs and sticks cut my skin and I pushed back as far as possible not to be seen. I heard the van's engine flying close and then coming to a screeching halt again. This time, the man pulled back the large door on the side of the van to get out. And what I saw, I would never forget. The man hops out the door on the side and leaves it open. He's holding a small, bloody saw of some kind with fresh blood dripping off of it. Behind him in the van, there were multiple different types of knives and tools that hung and were organized. To me, it looked like bloodstains had been splattered around the walls of the van. The man was about 6'5" at least, brown short hair with the evilest grinning smile I had ever seen. He didn't speak a word but inspected the surrounding areas vaguely, hopped back in the van and took off flying down the previous neighborhood right behind me. Once I heard him make the corner into the previous neighborhood again, I knew it was my time to nut up or shut up. I crawled out of the bush and ran as fast as I could on my sprained ankle. Crying and sprinting, I made it into my neighborhood. One more block and I would be home safe. As I made it to the halfway point of the block, the white van comes flying around the corner and into my neighborhood. I had to make a move to buy myself more time to get inside. As I passed by the dumpster, I grabbed 2 of the large recycled trash cans and threw them out in the middle of the road to block his path. I dashed from my townhouse only 20 feet away. The van hit both bins at full speed, pummeling one into my neighbor's SUV, smashing their windshield. I put the key in the door and I turned it just as the van pulled in front of my building. I opened my door and I threw myself inside and I slammed it shut and deadbolted the lock. A few moments passed by before I began to hear beating on my front door and a slow-pitched voice that shouted,
"I'll be seeing you soon, boy."
I lay on the other side of the door in my blood and tears, shaking and crying. But after that, he left. The police were called immediately after the incident, not only by me, but by my neighbors as well. A report was drawn up, but he was never found. I know I should have called the police first, but being in the mindset of it happening so quickly in front of your eyes, you don't have time to think so clearly. I have moved since then. Let's just say I joined the gym again. But if you live near my city, beware of the man in the white van with only one headlight. It terrifies me to think what could have happened to me on that horrible night.